on page 530. Let's do some of the problems together. Let's start with number 3. It says find the distance between the following points. Number 3, my points are 3, 5, and negative 4, 5. So for these ones, I don't have to graph these points. All I need to do is just put it in my distance formula. So the distance formula is equal to, and it'll be very good practice for you to write out the distance formula for these ones. X sub 2 minus x sub 1 squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 squared as well. Here we go. I'm going to label my points here. Doesn't matter what you label them as. X sub 2, y sub 2. Again, if that helps you to keep them separate, I advise you to do that. So x sub 2 is negative 4 minus x sub 1 is 3. Need to square that, plus y sub 2 is 5 minus y sub 1 is 5 squared as well. So the distance is equal to negative 4 minus 3 is negative 7. Negative 7 squared is 49 plus 5 minus 5 is 0. Anything 0 squared is just going to be 0. So that's the square root of 49, which is equal to 7. 7 is the distance between these 2 points up here. Let's move to number 9. Number 9. Now we're finding the midpoint of these segments. My 2 segments are 4, negative 6, and 4, 10. So the first thing I want to do is put my midpoint formula down here. That's x sub 1 plus x sub 2 all over 2. And then y sub 1 plus y sub 2 all over 2. This is going to be a coordinate. Label my points. And then just plug them in. Here we go. 4 plus 4 over 2. And then y sub 1 is negative 6 plus y sub 2 is 10 all over 2. 4 plus 4 is 8. 8 divided by 2, that's 4. Negative 6 plus 10 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2. And this is your midpoint of these between these 2 points. Number 13. It says find the distance between the following points and give your answer as both a simplified radical and a decimal rounded to the nearest tenth. So we're going to have 2 answers on these ones. Finding the distance between 2, 7 and 5, 12. So write my distance formula. X sub 2 minus x sub 1 squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 squared. Let me label my points up here. This is 5, 12, x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, and y sub 2. So let's just plug in my points. X sub 2 is 5, minus x sub 1 is 2. Square that, plus y sub 2 is 12, minus y sub 1, which is 7. Square that. Simplify. 5 minus 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9. Plus 12 minus 7 is 5. 5 squared is 25. So that's the square root of 34. And I cannot simplify this radical anymore. There's no perfect square roots that are factors of 34. But this is one answer. This is simplified radical form. And then it also wants the decimal form, which would be rounded to the tenths place would be about 5.8. So you need both answers there. Let's do number 17. Let's see here. Again, we're finding the distance. So negative 5, 6, negative 12, negative 4. Write your distance formula. X sub 2 minus x sub 1 squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 squared. Label my points. X sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, and y sub 2. And then we just have to plug and chug. So x sub 2 is negative 12 minus a negative 1. Be careful there. Oops, excuse me, that's a negative 5 is my x of 1. And then I need to square all of this. I probably should do brackets here since I've got parentheses inside there. Plus, let's do brackets here as well. Y sub 2 is negative 4 minus y sub 1 is 6. All of that squared. We're still all underneath the square root here. So let's simplify. Negative 12 minus a negative 5. That's negative 12 plus 5, which is negative 7. What is negative 7 squared? It's going to be 49 plus negative 4 minus 6 is negative 10. Negative 10 squared is going to be 100. So that's the square root of 149. And can I simplify that radical? I cannot. So that is the simplified radical, which would be about 12.2 as a decimal. All right, let's do number 23. It says find the midpoint of the segments with the following endpoints. So again, just finding the midpoint here, 0, 3, and 8, 9. Here's my formula. X of 1. Let's label these. 0 plus 8 all over 2. And 3 plus 9 all over 2. So I've got 8 over 2, which is 4. And 12 over 2, which is 6. And this is my midpoint between those 2 points. Let's turn to the next page and let's do number 29. It says find the lengths of the sides to the nearest tenth of triangle ABC, and it gives us the vertices. So let's go ahead and graph them. So A is at 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Here is A. B is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. B is way down here. And C is at 2, negative 3. So let's see here. Oops. There's one segment, another one, and then lastly, there we go. So here is point A, here's point B, and here's point C on my triangle. And I want to find the lengths of all of the sides. So I'm looking for AB, I'm looking for BC, and I'm looking for AC, all 3 lengths of those sides. This is negative 3, 5. Point B is negative 1, negative 7. And C is 2, negative 3. We're going to need those points in order to find distances. So if I'm looking for the distance of AB, I need the distance formula. So x sub 2 minus x sub 1 squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 squared. You will have this memorized in no time. So between A and B, we're going to be using these points here. So this is my x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, and y sub 2 there. So just plug and chug. It's negative 1 minus, let's use brackets, negative 1 minus a negative 3, which is my x sub 1. All of that needs to be squared, plus y sub 2 is negative 7 minus y sub 1 is 5. Square that as well. Let's simplify. Negative 1, negative negative is a positive, so negative 1 plus 3 is 2. 2 squared is 4, plus negative 7 minus 5 is negative 12. Negative 12 squared is 144, so that's the square root of 148. and that will be roughly about 12.2. So AB is about 12.2. That's the distance between these 2 points. Now let's find the distance between B and C. Again, I'm going to plug it into our distance formula. That's x sub 2 minus x sub 1 squared plus y sub 2 minus y sub 1 squared. I've already gotten letter B here labeled as x sub 2 and y sub 2, so let's label these as x sub 1 and y sub 1. Therefore, I have -1 minus 2 squared plus y sub 2 is -7 minus y sub 1 is -3. Make sure you don't forget that negative. And let's simplify. -1 minus 2 is -3 squared, which is +9, plus -7 plus 3 is -4 squared is 16. So that's the square root of 25, which is 5. So the distance between B and C is an exact 5. We do the same thing for A and C. Just make sure you change x sub 2 and y sub 2 to that, and you should get about 9.4 for that one. Let's do one more. Get a new sheet of paper here quickly. Number 33, we'll just do some of this one. Finding the midpoints of all 3 sides of the triangles. So again, they give us points for this triangle. It's got vertices at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 3, 0, and 1, 4. So here's my triangle. And my points A, B, and C. And the instructions do tell you to draw the figure in a coordinate plane, so make sure you do that. Number 33, let's find the midpoint. So I want to find the midpoint between A and B, A and C, and B and C. I'll need to know the points here, the coordinates. So A was, that's 6, 4, C was 1, 4, and B was 3, 0. So I need the midpoint for AB, BC, and AC. So I'm going to use my formulas here. Let's find AB first of all. I've got x sub 1 plus x sub 2 all over 2. And then y sub 1 plus y sub 2 all over 2 as well. Let's plug in our values. So A is, let's see, my x value is 6 for A, and for B it's 3, so 6 plus 3 over 2. And then my y value is 4 there, and my y value there is 0. So 9 over 2 and 2. That's my midpoints between segment AB is 9 over 2, 2. So there's that one. Let's find one more, the midpoint between B and C. So we're using 3, 0 and 1, 4. Write your formula. Y sub 1 plus y sub 2 all over 2 as well. So let's label x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2. That's 3 plus 1 all over 2. And 0 plus 4 all over 2. So the midpoint of B and C is 2, 2. And then you find the midpoint of AC by using these 2 points now. All right, your homework problems are listed in Google Classroom. Make sure you pay attention to the specific ones there because it's not all of the evens.